It was just before sunrise in Manila, the city still wrapped in the soft glow of dawn, when televisions across the Philippines suddenly flashed a chilling headline that would set the tone for the entire day. The usual morning calm was shattered as families gathered around their screens, sensing that something important, something unsettling, was unfolding. Chinese ships near Philippine waters. Tensions escalate in the South China Sea. The words scrolled urgently across the screen, accompanied by the serious faces of news anchors who struggled to keep their composure as they relayed the breaking story. People all over the city stopped what they were doing. Shopkeepers in bustling markets turned up their radios, straining to catch every detail. Fishermen who usually prepared their boats at this hour gathered in small, anxious crowds by the pier, their eyes fixed on the horizon, searching for any sign of trouble. The news anchors spoke in urgent, almost breathless voices, describing a line of gray Chinese Navy vessels spotted alarmingly close to Philippine islands. Images of the ships filled the screens, making the threat feel immediate and real. The air in Manila felt heavy with worry and uncertainty. Parents hurried their children through the streets, casting nervous glances at their phones for updates. Commuters on their way to work wore tense expressions, their usual chatter replaced by anxious silence as they scrolled through news feeds. Down at the port, fishing boats sat moored and motionless. Many fishermen, who depended on the sea for their daily bread, were too afraid to leave the safety of the harbor. They stood together on the dock, exchanging worried looks and hushed words, uncertain if it was safe to venture out. The Manila skyline, usually bright and full of promise at sunrise, was now clouded by anxious whispers and the distant, unsettling growl of helicopters circling overhead. The city seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what might come next. On social media, hashtags like South China Sea and Protect Our Seas began to trend rapidly. People in cafes and on street corners scrolled through their phones, sharing updates, rumors, and opinions, trying to make sense of the fast-moving situation. For many older Filipinos, memories of past maritime standoffs and tense confrontations came flooding back. Families gathered to discuss what had happened before and what might happen now, drawing uneasy parallels to conflicts they thought were long behind them. The city buzzed with anxious questions. Would there be a confrontation this time? How would daily life change if things escalated further? At newsstands, headlines screamed of confrontation, and in every crowd, worried faces reflected the same uncertainty. Uncertainty was the word on everyone's lips as Manila braced itself for whatever the day might bring. The world's attention focused on 4 countries, each representing not just their own interests, but the hopes and fears of millions. Headlines blared, and newsrooms buzzed with updates as the situation unfolded. China, the Philippines, the United States, and Japan stood at the heart of this unfolding drama. Each nation brought its own flag, its own fleet of ships, and its own carefully crafted plans to the disputed sea. The air was thick with tension, as every move was watched and analyzed by the world. The South China Sea, a vast expanse rich with fish and oil, had become a chessboard for these powerful nations. Its waters, crisscrossed by vital shipping lanes, were more than just a source of resources. They were a symbol of power and control in the region. China, the largest in both size and ambition, sent its Coast Guard ships near Philippine waters, asserting its claims with a show of strength. Its vessels patrolled the disputed islands, signaling that it would not back down easily. The Philippines, much smaller but fiercely proud, watched nervously from their shores. Fishermen worried about their livelihoods, while officials in military uniforms scanned the horizon, hoping for support. They called for help from their friends and allies, determined not to stand alone. The United States, an old and powerful ally, answered quickly. American Navy ships sailed in formation, and fighter jets roared off aircraft carriers, making it clear that they were ready to defend their partners and keep the sea lanes open. Japan, with a long and complicated history in the region, also sent its patrol vessels. Japanese Coast Guard crews stood watchful on deck, scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble, determined to protect their interests and support stability. People in nearby countries watched anxiously as events unfolded. In Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia, families gathered around radios, and fishermen discussed the latest news at the harbor. They hoped the rising tension would not spill into their own waters, threatening their way of life. The world's news cameras turned to the South China Sea, waiting for the next move. Journalists from every corner of the globe arrived, eager to capture history as it happened, knowing that what unfolded here could shape the future of the entire region. Chinese ships, large and white, began to appear near Philippine Islands. Their powerful searchlights swept across the water at night. Some ships carried loudspeakers, broadcasting warnings to local fishermen. Leave these waters. This is Chinese territory. The sight was intimidating. No one could ignore the message. Chinese officials said they were only protecting their own claims. For years, China has built artificial islands and runways on reefs and rocks. Now, it patrols these areas with Coast Guard ships and planes. Some experts say China is trying to show it controls the sea, even if other countries disagree. Local fishermen are the first to feel the pressure. They have fished here for generations. Now, they worry about being chased away or even arrested. The Philippine government has protested, but Chinese ships remain. The message is clear. China wants to control these waters and will not back down easily. The United States responded quickly. Within days, American warships sailed into the region. Their gray hulls cut through the waves, sending a message. We are here. We will help our friends. U.S. planes flew overhead, watching every move from above. The American presence was impossible to ignore. Japan also stepped in. Their white patrol ships arrived soon after. Japanese leaders promised to support the Philippines and keep the sea open for everyone. Their ships joined training with the Philippine Navy, practicing rescue missions and defense drills together. Philippine officials welcomed their allies. They said the presence of American and Japanese ships brought hope and safety. But they also knew this might make China angry. The sea was now crowded, and every ship's move was watched closely by others. For people living near the sea, daily life feels different now. In small coastal towns, fishermen talk about the ships they see on the horizon. Some have stopped fishing, worried about being caught between powerful navies. Others try their luck, but return home with smaller catches. Children ask their parents, "Are we safe?" Mothers worry about what tomorrow will bring. The markets are quieter, as fewer fish arrive each day. In schools, teachers try to calm their students, but the tension is hard to hide. Tourism also suffers. Some travelers cancel their trips, afraid of trouble. Local businesses feel the loss. The uncertainty in the region touches everyone, from shop owners to taxi drivers. Life goes on, but each day carries a little more worry. The South China Sea is not just another patch of blue on the map. It's a vast, dynamic region that connects people, economies, and nations across Asia and beyond. Stretching over 3.5 million square kilometers, it touches the shores of several countries and is a crossroads for global commerce and security. In fact, it is, honestly, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, with thousands of vessels passing through every single day. Every year, trillions of dollars worth of goods, everything from electronics and cars to food and fuel, move through these waters, making it a vital artery for international trade. Beneath the waves, oil and gas fields here power nearby countries, providing crucial energy resources that keep factories running and homes lit. And above the surface, fish from these waters feed millions of families, supporting entire communities and local economies that depend on the sea's bounty. China says most of the sea belongs to them, claiming historic rights over vast stretches of water. They use what they call a 9-dash line on their maps, a sweeping boundary that covers almost the entire sea and overlaps with other nations' claims. The Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and other countries, well, they strongly disagree. They argue that international law gives them rights to parts of the sea, and they've protested China's actions in regional meetings and on the streets. International courts have actually ruled against China's claims, stating that the 9-dash line has no legal basis under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. But China refuses to accept the decision, insisting on its own interpretation and continuing to build artificial islands and military outposts. The United States and Japan do not claim the sea for themselves, but they want it to stay open for trade and navigation, believing that everyone should have access. They worry that if China controls the sea, it could threaten the free flow of goods and energy that so many countries rely on. If tensions rise, China could block shipping, or cut off resources, disrupting global supply chains and raising prices everywhere. That's why the stakes are so high, not just for countries nearby, but for people all over the world who depend on what passes through these waters. For the US, Japan, and their allies, this is about freedom and balance, making sure that no single country can dominate such a crucial region. In the end, the South China Sea matters to everyone, because what happens here affects economies, security, and the balance of power across the globe. This conflict is about more than ships and islands. It is about power, who controls the region, and who can decide its future. For China, showing strength in the South China Sea is a sign of pride. For the Philippines, defending their waters is about national honor and survival. The United States and Japan act to support their allies and protect the rules of the world's oceans. They also want to prove they can stand up to China. Each country has its own reasons, but they all know the risks are high. Every day people pay the price. Fishermen lose their income. Families worry about conflict. Children hear stories of ships and soldiers instead of hopes for a peaceful future. As the world's leaders argue and plan, regular people just want safety and stability. No one knows exactly what will happen next. Some experts fear a small accident, a ship collision, or a mistaken warning could quickly turn into a crisis. With so many powerful ships and planes in one place, the danger of miscalculation is real. Diplomats are busy holding talks, searching for a peaceful solution. The Philippines calls for international support. China stands firm, refusing to back away from its claims. The United States and Japan continue their patrols, watching everything closely. Local people hope for calm, but prepare for trouble. Emergency drills are held in schools. Fishermen keep their radios close, listening for news. The world waits, hoping leaders will choose peace, not conflict. The South China Sea remains a place of beauty and danger. Its blue waters hide deep worries for everyone nearby. China, the Philippines, the United States, and Japan all have strong reasons for their actions, but their moves create tension that touches millions of lives. People in the region hope that talking, not fighting, will win the day. They want leaders to find a path to peace, so children can play without fear and fishermen can return to the sea. The world watches, hoping for wise choices and calm waters ahead. No one can say what tomorrow will bring. But as the sun sets each night, the people of the South China Sea hope for a safer, brighter morning.